The problem-solving mentality. 3 ways to power through challenges. Challenges are inevitable, but letting them hold you back is your choice. Find out how to power through challenges today. Hello, everyone. I am Tessa, Director of Marketing at IdeaPros, and I have Fred Cary, who is CEO over at, nope, he just left. There he is. We have Fred Cary, who is CEO over at IdeaPros. Hello, Fred.
How are you guys doing?
It looks like everyone's already here. So thank you guys for popping in so early. Katie, Timbo, Odin, Jerry, Corey, Ken, 2 Kens, and Stephanie. Thank you guys all so much for being here. We're going to dive into the topic. So I know, Fred, you wanted to lay some foundation before we hop into these 3 specific things.
Yeah, I do. And, you know, we typically in our lives, forget about entrepreneurship for a minute, in our personal lives, our work lives, we run into problems. We run into situations that don't go the way we wanted them to go. A lot of times what we do is just give up. And we talk about the problem, we think about the problem, the becomes the present because that's what we focus on. And it's a negative type of mindset that just cannot work in entrepreneurship. When you're an entrepreneur, problems happen. I describe it as running into a wall, getting your head all bloodied, putting on a bandage and running into that same wall again as many times as you need to get through it. So if you have that kind of, oh, something went wrong, therefore this is not going to work mentality, you will not be a successful entrepreneur. And so we're going to talk about some of the ways to look at this so that when issues happen with you, and they will, you know how to deal with them in a different mindset.
Great. Well, so number 1 is mindset. You just actually started to dive into it, as always, being a little ahead of the game. So change your mindset when problems occur. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
And I talk about this on my Instagram page too, having a positive mindset. That's what that's all about, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. Somebody with a negative mindset is going to take a problem and look at it like it's a mountain to climb. If you have a positive mindset, you're going to expect that things happen. It's part of being a human being. Things happen that we don't want. You know, we've all had this kind of straight line image of where we want to start and where we want to end up, but that's never a straight road. That's a very curvy path. A lot of times you end up in dead end roads. A lot of times you're going the wrong way in a one-way road, and that's the life of an entrepreneur. And so positive mindset means waking up every single day knowing that whatever comes your way, you're going to embrace it and you're going to figure out ways to deal with it. A good general example is, you know, you could have 2 different people, and this isn't entrepreneurship, this is just life. You can have 2 people walking outside the same door at the same time in the same place, and it's a partly cloudy sky, and one person will think, wow, the sun's coming out, and the other person's thinking it's going to rain. You know, and you have to have that, the sun is coming out to be an entrepreneur. If you don't have that, if you're not always focusing on the bright side of things and understanding that you're in a battle because you're creating something that doesn't exist. And if anybody thinks that they're smart enough to create something that doesn't exist and do it right the first time or even the 10th time, well, you're in the wrong line of business. It's grueling, full of delays, full of issues, full of things that either work or don't work, and you got to do them again. That's what being an entrepreneur is like, and that's what we have to face, and that's why you need a positive mindset to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I have to say, if you are having a hard time seeing the positive side, let me know. I'm great. I have lots of extra positivity for you. But if you guys
Very modest of you.
I am happy to spread the sunshine. But what I mean is find someone who can be your kind of like your positive, charge, basically, so that you can recharge your batteries every now and then, because we all hit roadblocks. We all want to get our mentality back on track. And sometimes it helps to have someone else put you back on the right track.
Sure. Can you help me?
Perfect. Okay. So yes, lots and lots of sunshine. So number 2 is actually about roadblocks in particular. So you want to see the roadblocks as opportunities. Is there a delay?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, good.
You need to welcome things when they happen. A roadblock is an opportunity for you to do something the right way. And thank God it happened early in the process, right? And that's why when we're developing something, we have a couple of projects in IdeaPros that we have redeveloped probably 5 or 6 different times. And we've pivoted 3 or 4 times not because our idea was bad, because our idea became bad because of change of the macro environment. The world around us changed, and it made the idea we had originally not as good as it was in the first place. That's a roadblock. Well, thank God we had that roadblock, then we could take the time to reflect and rethink and come up with a better plan. If we just plowed through it and stuck to our guns and stuck with the original product idea that we had, we'd have a product that goes to market and nobody's there to look at it, to buy it, to want it, to covet it. And so therefore, when you have these things that seem sometimes insurmountable, that's the time to sit back, to reflect, to look at the game plan again, and just like you're in a regular battle, figure out another approach, another way to attack, another way to move forward, so you're not sitting there stuck where you are, not going anywhere.
Perfect. And I think that is exactly what Martin just mentioned. You were talking about pivoting, and he was saying, started out with an apple and ended up with an orange, but it's not a bad thing. Sometimes you have to do that pivot. Perfect. Excellent. So, and I see you guys commenting over there. We're going to catch up with you at the end, I promise. So if you do have a question as we go through, let us know. But number 3, so treat failure as the ultimate F word. I know we did a whole show on this about F word, but what do you mean by that?
I mean, you can't give up when you're an entrepreneur. And there's so many different things that are going to get into your way. As we talked about earlier with the roadblocks, it's ugly. It's not pretty. It's ugly being an entrepreneur because you're creating something that didn't exist before. And you have to have the fortitude. You have to have the positive when something happens. Opportunity, so you cannot think of failure as an option. And we have that sometimes. We have, again, reflecting back on IdeaPros, we have some partners that if we have something go wrong, we have an issue, something we wanted to design a certain way, it can't be designed that way. And literally, I have to talk people off a cliff sometimes, don't jump. Everything's going to be okay. And if you have a different mindset, just like I said before, when you have something like that happens, now you have intelligence, you have data, you have information, well, this is not the way that we need to be doing this. There's another way to do it. Let's sit back, figure out what that way is, and do it that way. If you don't do that, then your failure will be your F word, because you're going to go right there, you're going to stop, and you're going to go back to your 9-to-5 job.
Well, I think some of the best advice that I ever got from my mentor was that you don't bring a problem to someone, you bring a solution. So, if that's a partner, a client, whoever it is, you're already thinking about how you can solve that problem before you even bring it up, because it doesn't help you to have the problem itself. Isn't going to help you. It's the solving, the solution. So it's about being a little bit forward thinking and putting yourself out there. So we've covered 3 really good ways to create problem-solving mentality. Let us know in the chat what you think your biggest hangups of being able to do this would be, because we have a couple extra minutes today, and we might be able to catch up with you guys in the chat. Yeah. So Fred, do you have anything else you want to add while they're putting some?
Oh, I have tons of stuff I want to add. That's one of the things that I ask our project managers or anybody else that works here is that, as you said, don't just come to me with a problem. Come to me with a solution, right? Hey, Fred, this is happening and this is happening and this is happening, and I've been thinking about it, and I think we could do these one or two things to make it better. What do you think, right? Otherwise, why would you, what are you doing here being part of a team, right? The same thing with any entrepreneur. If you're part of the team, don't focus on complaining. People who complain lose, because that's where the focus is. If you find yourself complaining all the time, this is taking too long, this is not what I expected, we should have a comma here, colon. Focus on the positive side of things and say, hey, I think I have a better idea. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And focus on positivity, focus on being part of the team, focusing on developing a future, not nagging about a past. You know, there's three places: the past, the present, and the future, right? The past is not something to dwell on, it's something to learn from. That's why if you're an entrepreneur, you're learning from the past, not dwelling on the past. The future is what you're striving for. You can't live there. You can't be in the future. You can't say, wow, I want to be 3 years from now today. It's not going to happen. Have a game plan, but that game plan helps you deal with the most important thing, which is the present. And in the present is where you can take action. In the present is where you can change your mindset. In the present is where you, as an entrepreneur, can make the right decisions time and time again in order to get further and further towards your goal, so that ultimately that vision you have for the future becomes your reality today.
It's wonderful. Good, amazing advice. I did have Jared put in a question, so if you don't mind answering a quick question, can you share one of your biggest roadblocks in your life or career? That's a great question, Jared. Thank you.
Well, I haven't had any. No, that's not true.
Because you don't, because you have a problem-solving mentality, right?
I would say, you know, a lot of times the biggest roadblocks that you face are roadblocks that are not unique to your organization. The roadblocks that you face are things like this pandemic. Who could imagine that was going to happen? A prior roadblock that I had that was a major roadblock was the internet boom. It just collapsed literally overnight. You could buy, you know, if you had a company called poop.com, you'd make money. But all of a sudden, everything collapsed. There's nothing you can do about it. And this last thing with the pandemic, that was something that was very challenging, because we have several partners, about 10 partners, that had signed agreements for nationwide distribution through a large company that sells mostly through Amazon. And the pandemic caused that to just stop cold. You couldn't do anything about it. You couldn't place a product on Amazon if you wanted to. In fact, people that already had products on there were limited as far as how many they could keep in storage, because everybody was focusing on the pandemic and COVID type problems. So you're left in an environment where you're dealing nervous, inexperienced entrepreneurs, first-time entrepreneurs in many cases, that feel the world is against them when something like that happens. So dealing with issues like that, it's really hard to explain how the whole world is shut down and it's not just about you. The type of environment, type of explanations that I had to make. But we had to look at it and look at it in a positive way. This gives us time to kind of double down, to make sure that we have things right, make sure that we're ready to go live, and even give us an opportunity to figure out, can we go live by ourselves? Can we partner up with a bunch of affiliates so that we can start selling our site? For example, that's exactly what we're doing. I'm going to point out Aziza and Raw Beauty Co. She has an amazing skincare line, and we were all set. We were days away from launching on Amazon with a nationwide distribution partner, and it got shut down. And not once during this process since then has she complained. She's been my partner. She rolled up her sleeves with me. We looked at solutions, what we needed to do, and now we've finally signed a deal with a large affiliate network management company live on our own in the next few weeks with our own product set and with a lot of support and with a lot of affiliates driving traffic to us. So when you have those problems that are outside the realm of the four walls of your organization, those are the biggest problems, because you have to figure out how to take advantage of a world that has stopped. And by the way, as a startup organization, those type of things can, in spite of all the horrible things that are happening, they can be advantageous to you, because when your competitors start up again, they have manufacturers that are backed up, they have customers, existing customers that are not happy, they have staff that they've had to lay off, and you're just a new kid on the block that doesn't have any of those problems. You turn the lights on and get to work.
Wonderful. Well, we had so many good comments. Thank you guys all so much. We had Sherry with some fire over on YouTube. I'm glad to see people over on YouTube. And Sean Reed says, awesome people. And we have Mary Bessinger, thank you, or Bessenbacher. I'm sorry, I said your last name wrong. She says, go Aziza. Aziza is awesome. Such a determined partner for sure. So Fred, is there anything you want to leave us with for final thoughts? Anything you want to finish out on?
Yeah. If you're an entrepreneur, face these things. Take this show, put it on your notepad, put it on your phone, put it on your computer, and look at it over and over again every time you have a problem. Because if you're not having any problems, you're not an entrepreneur. Don't forget, you're creating something that doesn't exist. You're making something from nothing. You're an innovator. And if you're an innovator, you need to have a positive mindset. Otherwise, you're going to have a miserable time of a beautiful experience. So if you want to have a beautiful experience in building something that you have thought of and that you have passion about, and that you used to wake up in the middle of the night wondering why you haven't created it, you need to be positive. You need to have a positive mindset. You need to welcome the challenges. You need to be okay with the disappointments. That gives you an opportunity to design better and better and better, so that when you do launch, it's ever of making it a success.
Well, thank you so much, Fred, for all your knowledge and wisdom. And thank you guys all so much for being here. Every Friday at noon Pacific time, we're here. And we are, if you want to get reminders, there's a link in the post and you'll be able to get a reminder by text or email. And if you have any questions, there's also a Q&A form in there. So we'll see you guys all next week. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. So long.